today's video. I want to chime in with a quick impromptu video. Today's video is going to be part two of the video I did a day ago. So yesterday plus a few hours. So yesterday plus change. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, I was basically talking about the depopulation agenda, and I was talking for probably about 13 to 20 minutes. But the video wasn't supposed to be that long, so I said I was going to put it into parts. Pause. So this is going to be part two. But anyway, so with the depopulation agenda, it's all these different schemes, scams, plots, fraudulent activity to lure people in from other countries, other states, to get them to participate in cult or occult like activity. So, so the definition of a cult, CULT. I don't know the Google definition, but this is my definition. You see what I'm saying? So just to state that, I got to go back and Google the actual word cult. But I know what the Google definition for a cult is. So I'm gonna just give you my definition of what a cult is, and then I'm gonna tell you what a cult is. OCCULT. You see what I'm saying? So basically, a cult is basically a group of people that's like a coven of witches or warlocks, right? But they're not necessarily hidden because they're like low level. You know what I'm saying? Like novice, beginners, intermediates. You see what I'm saying? They don't really know shit. It's just a bunch of dummies following another dummy. You see what I'm saying? But a occult, OCCULT, means hidden. It's hidden from the public eye, and that's why most occults they go by esoteric knowledge, which means only known to a few. You see what I'm saying? So a cult is basically kind of like a public organization that you can find in your local neighborhood, local city, different regions and stuff like that. People kind of know about it. You probably don't know too much about it, but you know it exists. It's around. But a cult, you barely know anything about it, and it's the same activity, but on a professional, corporate CEO, CIO, COO kind of scale. You see what I'm saying? So they're doing the same thing, but it's operating in the shadows, basically meaning right under your nose and you don't know, and you really don't know about it, is because it's in a cult. It's hidden, right? So that is a big part of what's going on with the immigration shit, with the border crisis and all that. See, it's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world that you only hear bits and pieces of it, whether it's on the news, whether it's word of mouth, or you know what I'm saying, or well, really, yeah, word of mouth. Because if you ain't hearing it on the news, which is still kind of word of mouth, it's more like a digital version. But word of mouth, as in person, like people talk about it at the grocery store, people talk about it at the park, people talk about it at school, people talk about it in college. The same thing at school, but it's the higher level. You know what I'm saying? People talking about it on the job, etc., etc., etc. People talking about it at the doctor's office. People talking about it at the plasma place. You see what I'm saying? So um, that information it'll get out, but it's confusing because it's bits and pieces that's missing. So that's the whole important part of YouTube and social media and actual local news, because they give you their perspective of what they found in their investigation, and then you listen to the news story, then you put the pieces together from what you already know to be true versus what they found out, what they know to be true, and you cross-reference the information. That's how you find out the real truth. So so basically, just watching YouTube and shit like that, it makes a whole bunch of sense. See, they only talk about in Hollywood, and it's not even just in Hollywood. That's kind of where it started. But yeah, that's where it started, and that's probably where it's gonna be finished at. But this stuff happens all around the world. You see what I'm saying? But Hollywood is like a city, which is in Los Angeles County. So it's like a town within a city, and this is what they do in this particular area. Like they practice this stuff. But it's people from New York, it's people from Chicago, people from Mexico, it's people from Honduras, it's people from Jamaica, it's people from Africa, you know what I'm saying? It's people from Australia, people from New Zealand, all around the world that practices magic. France, uh, that practices magic and stuff like that. But the place where they actually got it, where you could kind of do, not necessarily where you could kind of do it because you got the law, but where people could kind of get away with it at is in Hollywood. Shit been going on for a long time, but it's, this is not just like a Hollywood thing. They do this shit all around the world. They just call it some type of different type of magic. Santeria, hoodoo, voodoo, black magic, white magic, Wicca, witchcraft, whatever you want to call it. It's all same thing, but it's a difference. So it's all in the same category. It's all in the same genre, but it has subcategories. Put it to you like that. So it's witchcraft, subcategory, Wicca, hoodoo, voodoo, whatever else. You know what I'm saying? Luciferianism, Satanism, Egyptology, blah 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 blah. You see what I'm saying? It's a subculture of witchcraft, and each different subgenre, subculture, they do shit differently. But in the grand scheme of things, this type of magical stuff happens all around the world. So it's people that's coming from different parts of the world just so they can get to California, so they can start their own cults, their own covens, and do all this weird shit because that's what a lot of people in Hollywood are doing. You see what I'm saying? That's why a lot of people is getting these big time roles and stuff like that because you got to get your hands dirty. That's just the truth. And the more you get your hands dirty in Hollywood, the bigger the role because you play the part in a ritual. But the ritual is basically just trying to bring somebody else down, and they use a poor excuse of hazing. So it's a fraternity aspect in it. So they just hazing you, but really they're not. They're actually really trying to target you. So I'm giving you this backstory because before I start dropping these jewels, I don't want to lose you. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm kind of giving you a little rundown right now because I'm about to, you feel me, switch gears and I'm about to actually really break this shit down. So check this shit out, right? So the thing is, with this whole Hollywood thing, it's a lot of people that go missing in Hollywood. Kanye West even said that, you know what I'm saying, which is true. He not the only person that said it, but he the only person that said it recently in this 21st century that's on his level as a billionaire status. You see what I'm saying? That people go missing in Hollywood all the time. It's true. And when they go missing, 9 out of 10 they're never normally found. And if they're not normally found, obviously I stated this before in my web series, where are the missing children of North America? Just because you're missing don't necessarily mean you dead, but just because you haven't been classified as dead and you missing, don't mean that you're not dead. Does that make sense? So basically, what I'm trying to say is, if somebody went missing and they've been missing for 30 some years, 9 out of 10 they probably dead. You know what I'm saying? They've been missing for 5 some years. 9 out of 10 they probably dead. Then you have those rare cases where some people they're not necessarily dead. It might just be their situation. You can't really get in contact with them, or people going around paying people acting like they never seen this person before and all this shit. Especially if you're not on social media, they mainly doing this. That's why they don't want people that's on social media. You see what I'm saying? That's why these people look stupid when they figured out I'm actually a international star. It's just these motherfuckers been trying to sabotage my career since 2021, and basically trying to make it like I'm just some homeless person and all that shit. Even though just because I'm an international star doesn't mean I'm not going through something in my own personal life. But they tried to exploit the fact that I was going through something in my own personal life and try to just make it out to seem like I'm just some homeless person. I was never on YouTube. I never traveled the world and all this type of shit. So if something did happen to me where they try to administer the poison, I so happen to go missing, Arizona, you see what I'm saying? Oh, we just gonna have a funeral for this guy. You don't even have a body, but you're gonna have a funeral for somebody that you don't even know if they missing or not, but you just automatically want to consider them to be dead because that's the whole point. I was supposed to be dead because you put out a hit, right? You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, you gotta really pay attention to what's going on. So people tell on themselves all the time just while I'm talking. That's why I let them niggas talk. Keep running your mouth. That's why Lil Mouse said it. Shout out Lil Mouse. He even said it. Go and get the money and just let them bitches talk. You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, you gotta really understand. So like, for example, a lot of people that's going missing in Hollywood or all over the place in America and even in other countries, it's all kind of tied back to America and Mexico. You see what I'm saying? And it's some other countries that's involved in this, but I'm talking about in terms of what we at right now. I'm in North America, California, Simi Valley. You see what I'm saying? That's right there, surrounded by border states like Arizona, Texas, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, and right there on the border of that is Mexico. So, like I said, that's the part of the human trafficking part of this whole scheme is that you got all this little weird shit that you want to do, but most Americans, we already know what's going on, especially if you got somebody that survived something like this, somebody in your family that could even be a part of a cult. Excuse me, you know what I'm saying? You've seen this type of activity in your life at one point in time before, so you kind of could recognize it. You see what I'm saying? That's why they want to keep people in the dark, so you're not in the know. So when certain shit happen, you don't really know how to react. You don't know how to respond. That's why they want you paranoid all the time. So if they just do something stupid, you automatically think it's real and you get suicided or Arkansas. It's like what happened to young Scooter. You see what I'm saying? And that's basically what they're doing, just lame shit. But that's why they can't really recruit Americans that's actually have integrity or that's somewhat decent. You see what I'm saying? And I remember this conversation. I'm kind of going off topic a little bit, but I just want to break this shit down. But I remember I had this conversation with this old lady. This was an old black lady in Phoenix, Arizona, and she was telling me that when you homeless, people try to take that and categorize you as all these different things. That's why I say the homelessness plays a big part in this occult shit. You see what I'm saying? 'Cause she said that she never drunk alcohol, never smoked a cigarette or never smoked weed in a day of her life because I had just rolled up a blunt. I had bought some weed from this weed dispensary called Hana Dispensary. It's right there off 34th and Broadway. Shout out to Hana. You feel me? Shout out to Natalia. She fine as hell. But anyway, so check this shit out, right? So I was rolling this blunt up, and this was like what 2024 or something like that. I was rolling this blunt up, and I was about to spark it. I was already kind of having a bad day. I forgot why I was having a bad day, but this was like in the middle of the day, like 12, 1 in the afternoon, and I was finna flame this blunt up. It was an older black lady that she was like, "You better not flame that shit up. I'm right here." I'm like, "Yo, grandma." I'm like, "Yo, auntie," type shit. At this point, you know me, I don't have a good relationship with my family, at least certain people in my family. But at this point, you guilty by association. So I don't really have a good relationship with my family and shit like that. So I was about to flame that motherfucker up anyway, cause like, see, you set motherfuckers up, your own family to be killed and murdered. So why would I have respect for you? Why would I set you up to have you killed and have you murdered? You see what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Do you understand the eye for eye aspect? So anyway, I didn't flame up the blunt out of respect for the lady. I just listened to what she had to say, and she basically was saying like she was homeless for a long time for whatever had happened. I forgot how she was homeless, but she said she never did drugs, so she wasn't a junkie or nothing like that or a druggie. And people try to, she said people wouldn't want to hire her, they didn't want to help her or give her a job because they thought she was on drugs. So they actually, gave her a chance. Listen to what she had to say. She was like, "I'm willing to take a drug test. If you don't believe me, pass the drug test." And people couldn't believe it. They thought just because you homeless, you on drugs. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's not always the case. Being homeless can lead to you getting on drugs from stress and all that type of shit. But that don't mean that's how you always started out. So basically, I'm saying that to say is that a part of this whole occult shit. That's why they doing the homelessness shit, because that's gonna breed the spread of infectious diseases. That's why they got all these homeless encampments. Plus, if you homeless, 9 out of 10, you don't really have no family like that. So if you did go missing, motherfuckers think you just OD'd or whatever the case may be. It wasn't nothing but a junkie anyway. What if you homeless or you're a junkie or not? You're still a human being. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing that they don't want to acknowledge. You're still a human being. So if you don't die from natural causes, somebody slipped you a Mickey, a fentanyl pill, or whatever the case may be, and you so happen to die, you didn't die from natural causes. They murdered you. It's a big difference. You see what I'm saying? So that's why they want people homeless and all that shit. That's why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was doing the open border policy, because this was a grand scheme that was trickling down from the top. Because you got to remember, it's a lot of people that's in gangs and in the streets that have connections in the government. Like, for example, the CIA. There's a lot of CIA shit going on in the state of California just off the Freeway Rick Ross situation and the whole Rampart situation. A lot of the people during that time, like Freeway Rick Ross, he was getting his drugs from some dude named something Blandon, some Mexican dude, or he was Nicaraguan or whatever the case may be. He was basically of Spanish descent. He was getting all his drugs from him the whole time. Dude was basically an agent of the CIA sent to the state of California to infiltrate California and to flood it with drugs so they can get the war on drugs started. So basically, the war on drugs is just another way to fill up their private prison system. The private prison industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that's why they create these schemes like the war on drugs and gangs, which is cops and robbers, because the cops wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for criminals, and criminals wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for cops. Figure that one out. You see what I'm saying? So it's all a game. It's all a sham. That's why in California they do catch and release. Catch the criminal, we're gonna release him because without you doing crime, we wouldn't have a job. And without the police coming to catch you, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have a job because it wouldn't be no crime to commit because everybody do what they supposed to do. You get it? So that's why all this shit is all connected. So that's why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they were so big on bringing these immigrants over here, open border policies and shit like that, because you get all these people, probably North Americans and all that, that's corrupt. And they probably talking to these people through social media 9 out of 10, because that's the only way you can really connect with somebody that you never met that's from overseas or from a different state or a different country, which is overseas, is by talking to them on social media. That's the only connection you have with them, unless you know somebody that's from that country and they can still chime back in to the people they know in their country, which is still the same kind of connection. But mainly it's social media. You see what I'm saying? Social media is a way for you to connect and talk to people that you never met a day in your life. So that's why they were doing open border policies and all that shit. The human trafficking, the drug trafficking, organ trafficking, sex trafficking, it all goes a part of this grand scheme. You see what I'm saying? Everybody play their role, but it's all tied back to Epstein and the Hollywood industry and Weinstein and all these people. Is because after they use them up for sex, they use them up for drugs and all that shit, and they use the bodies to sacrifice to some type of Hollywood deity. I don't want to call it Hollywood deity, but like to like an ancient god or something like that. In Mexico, they call it Santa Morta or something like that, which is worshiping the dead. So it's all connected. That's why they wanted these open border policies because the only way these people could really get in is if you know somebody that's in this country, which is 9 out of 10 corrupt North Americans, citizens that don't really have shit going on for their life. All they do is sit around trying to figure out how they can come up quick because they too lazy. So not only you get a job, you don't even have to get a job nowadays. You could be a 1099 contractor and make your own money. But I guess that's how they make their own money. 1099 contractor by sitting around trying to set somebody up. You see what I'm saying? So that's why they did the open border policies. All this shit is connected. All this hospice fraud and all that shit. Because that's why they were so eager to just pass around all this money to keep people silent and all that shit. Because it's fraudulent money anyway. So you accept this money, you still going to jail for accepting fraudulent money. So it was like a dual-edged sword to kind of get this whole shit to get funding for all this shit. That's why they doing the human trafficking operations, where they getting people from Mexico, saying, "Hey, I'm in Mexico. I can get to Arizona from Mexico, but I need you to send somebody from Los Angeles to come pick me up from Arizona, and we just hop on the expressway, the 405, the 110, and you back in Los Angeles, and you just came from Mexico." You see what I'm saying? So that's the human trafficking part. Then the drug trafficking part is with the drug cartels and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? They making their own drugs. I seen a documentary today. They just released it. When I say they, some high-ranking people in law enforcement, they just released a documentary within these last. I think it was like almost a week ago, but that's still within this time frame of all this information that I've been breaking down and discovering. So from this last past month and a half, any information that's coming out around this shit is all connected. So the cartels, not only the human trafficking and drug trafficking, they human trafficking. They come from Mexico, but they creating the drugs in Mexico and just bringing them over with them. Because human trafficking, drug trafficking is very closely knit. And then sex trafficking, with the females out there, or even the men, you know what I'm saying, that's selling themselves or that's willing to sell themselves. They get all these type of people that's similar like that, and they put them together and they just have a meeting, and they say, I'm gonna put you and you in charge. Y'all been doing this shit for the last 20 years, selling yourselves, so y'all know exactly what to do. You're gonna keep recruiting these type of people, and that's how they come up with the sex trafficking operation. And when they done using you for the sex trafficking operation, they done using you for human trafficking operation, they done using you for the drug trafficking operation, then they just kill you in one of their satanic rituals, or they eat you in one of their satanic rituals. And that's why so many children going missing. That's why they keep saying Pizzagate, Pizzagate. Because Pizzagate was basically a pedophile code word for they basically laundering their money by opening up pizza shops and restaurants because they know it's gonna lure families in. If you a family 9 out of 10, you got young kids, and boom, they running around and shit like that, and you just lure one to the back, boom, kid snatched, and right under your nose, you don't even know it. That's why I keep saying piece of gate. You see what I'm saying? And that's why so many children going missing, whether they have a disability or not. But that's why they targeting children with disabilities because they feel like they already disabled, they already at disadvantage. Their parents got them a caregiver because they don't want to really take care of them and shit like that. Blah 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 blah. So we gonna start using these disabled people and these rituals and start sacrificing them. So that's what's really going on. And then they doing body brokering is because body broker, man, a lot of these people, they know people in high ranking places, and especially in the medical field, they need all these dead cadavers to study so they can keep creating new medical technology, new medical devices that they can sell to these big pharmaceutical companies. So that's why these tissue banks and all these other medical facilities is getting so much money because they selling these new products, they creating these new medicines to the big pharmacy companies. So it's all an elaborate scheme that's connected. That's why they didn't want Trump in office. That's why they trying to do everything they can back in 2020 to impeach Trump because we didn't know what the fuck was going on. Everybody saying one thing and this and that. We don't know what the fuck going on. But that's why they impeached Trump because they didn't want Trump to really find out what was really going on. They didn't want him and his administration to stop the fraud money. But you see when he got in on his second term, this time right now, they stopping all type of fraud money. So all that fraudulent money that they getting, that shit slowed down dramatically, if not stopped completely. So now motherfuckers is frustrated and they just trying to create any type of scheme. They making up any kind of lie they can to try to keep this bullshit going on, but they so stupid, not knowing that they already under investigation. And it's law enforcement, undercover law enforcement, undercover uh, private investigators that's sitting right next to them in these public places, and they don't even know. They listening to everything you saying, recording everything you saying. So motherfuckers are stupid. You see what I'm saying? So that's basically what's really going on. So that's why all these people going missing, especially in California and shit like that, because they selling them out to the industry. I don't want to say just the music industry, because it's really the entertainment industry. You see what I'm saying? And the same thing, like with these basketball players and shit like that, because all this shit connected. A lot of them, they making all this money, right? Millions of dollars. Why the hell is they cross dressing and dressing like women? Why you think they doing that? A straight male that is an athlete, basically like a big ass bull, stepping on a court, get all this athletic ability, but then he turns around and puts on high heels and a dress and women's clothing. Because when you're a basketball player, you're an athlete, right? You're already making millions of dollars. So why would you need to do that? Well, when you're an athlete and you're on that level in the entertainment industry, you have you're in a different tax bracket. So now you get access to different clubs and different events that only billionaires and millionaires and high ranking people have access to. 9 out of 10, most of them, not all, because you got some legit people, but 9 out of 10, most of those people that's in that tax bracket, they already psychologically, mentally ill from all these rituals they've been doing in Hollywood. So when they see one of these big black, I'm just using that term, it's really indigenous, but when they see one of these big black athletes, you know what I'm saying? Only thing they can think about is how dominant that person will really be and take advantage of them. So they say, you know what? I give you $1 billion if you cross dress and you become a transgender. You put on this stuff and take pictures and shit like that. Because whilst with a basketball player already got tens of millions of dollars in an NBA contract, dress around and act like a transgender when you don't have to, because they're being paid by these higher ups to do the shit. You see what I'm saying? So they can have even more money. So that's what's really going on, and it's just another way to what's it called? Emasculate or effeminate the black male, and not even the black male, just men in general. You see what I'm saying? Because I've been telling you, it's a war against straight men. You're a straight man, they're trying to go around and disrespect you, trying to do everything they can. Like me, they trying to disrespect me because I'm a straight male. And the thing is, it's just sad because it just goes to show how messed up you are in your mind. You can't even tell the difference between a straight male and a transgender. That goes to show you that these people are dealing with these people. Because if you weren't dealing with them, how you can't tell the difference between a straight male and a male that's a transgender? Because that's you dealing with them, so you can't even tell. You see what I'm saying? So all this shit is connected. You see what I'm saying? And that's what's going on. That's why all these people going missing. That's why all these children going missing, because they're eating them and sacrificing them to Moloch or Baal or Baal or whatever, the Baphomet. So that's what's really going on. So wake the damn up. More videos coming soon. Fuck all the ops. Shout out to my allies.